What is happening, so fam? So today we're going to be tapping into some more earth alchemy. This time I'm going to be walking you guys through an attunement with all the Greek variables of alchemy. So like Greek alchemy literally has so many attributes to it. You can literally think of all the gods, not only in just Greek mythology, but also in like Roman mythology. The gods themselves are different vibrations that you can tap into overall. But also the Greek phonetic alphabet, the one that you usually see for like fraternities and sororities, actually do have a lot of vibrational frequency to what we're dealing with today in our reality. So as we dive deeper into these perceptions of the Druid alchemy and how it matches up with the Roman and Greek alchemies, you're just going to kind of see some of this information you've probably already tapped into. If some of you have worked with Theta healing for a while, you will see that there's a lot of similarities inside of Theta healing. Now, today's class is mostly just attuning yourself to the vibrations. Chances are you're not going to be using these vibrations very often, but at least knowing that they have like this alchemic property to them is going to be something that's going to really bring you to the next level. So let's not delay anymore. So I'm going to show it with you guys my screen here. And I'm just going to move a couple things over. So remember the outline that we worked with, right? And everything is tied to the chakras, right? We're working with specific frequencies here. Now we're going to walk all the way over here. We're going to skip the cosmic alchemy for now, but we're going to walk straight into the Greek and developmental psychology aspects of alchemy. So as we're looking at this vibration, you're going to see that in the Greek alphabet, there's a delta, right? Depending on the perception of reality in which you're looking at, a certain frequency of reality is where it's going to fall. So that's why delta in the Greek alphabet is going to fall on the heart chakra, but in developmental psychology is going to fall in probably more than one place, okay? So you just kind of have to keep that in mind as we're working into it. As well, in this spreadsheet, you're going to see that there's these links right here to different lectures that basically will talk about different developmental states. And there's even a little program here that you can read about, basically tying into a lecture that I did about depression and how to target depression within your own consciousness. I did this about probably a month or two ago. So also in your link, you're going to be able to see, let me just close a few things over here. You're going to be able to see this little link as well. It's going to be tied right here where you see Greek. Boof, you click that, you're going to go right into here. And these are the Greek alchemy symbols that we're going to be working with. So I'm first going to take you into the most obvious ones, okay? The alpha and the omega. Now, if you guys have taken quantum Reiki Grandmaster level, you know that there's a frequency in there that's called omega, right? And the only way you can tap into it is if you learn the whole entire seventh language or all of quantum Reiki in the quantum Reiki class of Antojai. But if you already know the frequency of that original omega inside of the quantum Reiki course, which is a totally different symbol than this one, then you're going to also be able to look at this omega symbol right here. So omega usually is tied to the feminine concepts of reality. Alpha, at the very beginning, is tied to male concepts of reality. If you have the Dragon Esoterica deck, it's a tarot deck, you're going to see the same thing. Like the Omega Dragon is female, divine feminine nature. The Alpha Dragon is going to be all about male energy. Now, sexuality, gender changes between what lens you're looking at alchemy, right? So in a lot of alchemy, the alpha symbol is going to be associated to the root chakra, and in some chakra alchemy, is basically going to mean female, but here it means male. So you have to let your mind kind of play around with the different kinds of frequencies and how they work with you. So I want you guys to take a deep breath, and we're not going to be meditating together the same way that we normally do. We're just going to be meditating in the sense of like you activating these frequencies. All right. If anything, you're meditating with me specifically. Now, if you've done any theta healing, you're going to notice that, boof, we have a frequency here called theta. If you're in Antojai too, you're going to notice that there's a symbol that looks very similar to the pi symbol. Even though they're not the same symbol, they are very, very close in ratio. If you've taken any form of elemental alchemy, you're going to notice that the delta symbol is very associated with the pyramid that's upright. That indicates fire as well, right? Or it can be the omni, the all-powerful, okay? When you keep tapping into, let's say, this frequency right here, pi, okay? Pi, if you look at it, it looks like a neurocode. And I talked about this in a previous lecture on neurocodes. It's basically closest to the 12th chakra. That is also associated with the golden ratio that controls everything in this reality that we know of. It grows in a certain spiral-like shape. So here you're already starting to see, oh, okay, like there's the Greeks have somehow associated these variables with aspects of nature, right? Divine feminine, divine masculine, whether it's the golden ratio that rules through everything in time, fire, etc. The other thing that you're going to be looking at is that some of these symbols are they kind of change again. So like in certain levels of alchemy, that Omicron means space, right? But if you look up what Omicron means in different levels of alchemy, you might find some association with Metatron's cube, all right? The I as well, Iota, I think is what is just pronounced, my bad. That's an I. You can easily say, oh, the I in Druid alchemy. So that can be associated easily with ice. So you can start seeing how they're going to be interchangeable. A lot of these frequencies are also tied to math. All right. So usually pi is this infinite number that keeps running on forever and ever and ever and ever, right? That's a variation or a mathematical equation in reality. Now, one of the most beautiful things about Greek alchemy that you're going to start learning is not only is it actually like letters, right? They're letters that can construct a language, right? But independently, if you choose to step away from like the Greek language and looking at the fact that the Greeks documented alchemic vibrations, you're going to be able to look at it in a different scope, okay? You need to let your mind kind of step outside of its vibration. If you know theta healing, you could easily now shortcut your theta healing into like a really concentrated form of healing through this alchemy key right here. Mu, for instance, the M right here, the civilization of Mu is also one of those things that predated Atlantis and brought Atlanteans a lot of their knowledge as well as into Egypt. So you're starting to see like how these keys are very, very connected to a lot of different things that are going on in reality. This key right here is heavily associated to one of the keys again in Druid alchemy, just as Chi is, right? So each vibration, even though these alchemy keys have not been documented fully for what they are through many alchemy books, these are just teachings that I know because I used to train with people all over the world across many different lifetimes. So these are just things that I remember. You're going to be able to tap into these frequencies, and the only way that you're going to actually be able to fully exploit, or no, exploiting's not the best word, but like take full advantage of the keys is if you practice with them perpetually. You need to practice with them not only being able to summon the energy, but you need to let them talk to you, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's go ahead and let's just start off with the alpha. You're going to see that symbol. You're going to tap into that. You know that alpha automatically, based off of what we know, is tied to the divine masculine. So allow alpha, that vibration, to connect to your divine masculine. You might feel it on the right side of your body, the left portion of your brain. Deep breath. And exhale. You're going to take a few seconds to just do this. If you're having a hard time connecting to the energy, most likely it's because you're trying to study the energy. Do not study the energy, just allow yourself to experience the energy. A lot of these frequencies are also associated to brain states, like I had told you before. And when we start tapping into these different brain states, I'm going to be showing you a little form here. So here we're tapping into alpha. Alpha, okay, so in alpha brain states, this is what alpha means and when you're studying the brain. This is alpha in Greek, alchemy. If you let the two come together, when you say alpha, you're stepping into a relaxation, reflective state. Okay, you're combining two different elements and creating a brand new one. Alpha in Greek by itself is just gonna be the divine masculine. But if you do alpha with these extra components that I'm adding, you're going to be able to tap into your divine masculine while still producing relaxation and reflection. So take a deep breath. Also associate these colors. This alpha color is yellow, right? So you can easily allow that to impact your mind, right? Because your mind is what really needs relaxation, reflection. Even though a lot of these frequencies are all tied to the mind, you can then have a little bit of a more concentrated target. So my solar plexus, which rules the mind, is going to be experiencing alpha. So allow yourself to see this alpha key at your solar plexus. And I want you to just take deep breaths. And relax. As you do that, we're going to tap into beta now, all right? Beta is going to be targeting mostly our heart chakra. See the beta key at your heart chakra. So then if you look at brain waves here, brainwave and cymatic frequencies, you can easily find, let's say, alpha, theta brain waves. Those are basically 6.8 hertz, as we see here, which will cause you maybe some muscle spasms. It's associated with telepathy as well. All right, there's a bunch of different other ones here. It can be from 8 to 10 hertz, new information that you're learning, okay? Rapid refreshment, inner awareness of the self, mind, body integration, and balance. You can also do light relaxation, super learning, positive thinking, conductive and creative problem solving, accelerated learning, mood elevation, stress reduction, right? That's all alpha. And if you were to just basically type in, I do Command F on these like dictionaries of frequencies, and I look up and you can see, okay, the Greeks understood that this vibration not only was a letter, part of their language, but also associated to something more associated to the mind and states of consciousness, right? A tranquil state of consciousness. Science later has reinforced that, right? Regardless of whether or not science stated it first in our modern day or the Greeks did in their timeline, the same variation is going to mix itself together. Every time someone creates a new definition for something, the previous definition gets updated. The previous definition only gets updated in a person's mind if that person is aware of the multiple versions of discipline or definitions that exist in their reality. So just because I know alpha as a Greek letter doesn't mean that I'm automatically tapping into alpha in the binaural cymatic frequencies, right? Because if I don't know about it, how can I change my consciousness perception to embrace all the aspects of the alpha range? Now, if you tap into the alpha range and then you're healing someone and you know all about the aspects, then you know, okay, someone's dealing with, wanting to tap into super learning. All right, I'm going to turn on alpha because it's light relaxation, positive thinking, super learning, right? So what about beta? Beta's got 25 entries here. It gives attention to where it needs to be given. It's very heavily associated with alpha. It's got an association with endorphins, relaxed focus, improved attentive abilities, helps treating hyperactivity, dominant brainwave when you're alert, anxious, or awake, associated with focus and attention towards external stimuli, normal wakefulness, beta, concentration and learning. So we have beta at the heart, alpha at the solar plexus. Easily, you can say alpha and beta would still be interchangeable, right? Because sometimes your heart chakra needs alpha instead. It needs to relax and reflect. Sometimes your solar plexus, which controls your mind, needs beta, concentration and learning. Don't be stuck to just looking at how I'm giving you the definitions and how other people have defined it. Be practical, right? Like if you're going through something, use the tool and their definitions outside of the normal spectrum of how you originally learned them, and you'll be able to use more and more of the vibration inside of them. So now we're going to step into gamma. Gamma is going to be at the throat chakra, all right? So see that symbol at your throat chakra. Gamma is insight and expanded consciousness. Gamma can also be associated to your crown chakra, so go ahead and allow gamma to also mix itself at your crown chakra. Take a deep breath. And if we come back here and we're looking at the developmental psychology states of consciousness, we're seeing that in the Greek aspects, certain vibrations are stepping into, right, these aspects. So gamma, for instance, on my chart in Greek alchemy is tied to your third eye, right? So you can easily put gamma at your third eye as well. Gamma is going to be at your third eye, and this documented variation is going to be at your throat chakra. And based off of what we were reading originally when it comes to gamma waves, that's going to be expanded consciousness, also going to be your crown chakra, crown, throat, third eye. This whole region right here is associated with gamma. Insight, third eye. Very easy to tap into. Gamma is a very high vibration. So let's see what happens when we type in gamma. Gamma range. Little is known about this. It makes decisions when we're in a fear situation. When you're in high beta, you start tapping into gamma already. What else we got in here? It's great for problem solving when you're in a fearful situation. So another cheat sheet that you want to have in the back of your mind. Whenever you're going through something super scary, maybe there's a serial murderer around you. Or maybe you're like, oh my God, this corona thing, that's getting crazy. I'm feeling all that. Oh my God, that fear. Let me turn on some gamma. Let me just chill out. Gamma. So take another deep breath. Now we're going to be stepping into delta. Delta is also associated with fire because of the symbol. Remember how I told you that? That's how they got classified based off of the elements. So the fire element is almost identical to this delta frequency. So you can easily put delta based off of developmental psychology at your root chakra and your sacral chakra, where you can also put gamma again at your solar plexus chakra. And you can see alchemy can get slightly confusing as you're starting to step deeper and deeper into it. Delta can also step into your heart chakra. If we look at this map right here, Delta again is going to go back to your root chakra. So you can see that it's a vibration that's going up and down, similar to like these waves right here that we're looking at, right? They can go higher and then lower, and then higher and then lower, and then higher and then lower, and then higher and then lower, okay? Based off of your needs, it's very important for you to understand how these frequencies match up with each other. Deep breath. Already at Delta, I'm starting to feel like my stomach is like, right? So you have to like kind of be zen with yourself. You might be feeling really high. You might be feeling like all of a sudden, whoa, you're starting to get lifted, okay? That's because these frequencies are starting to rearrange your reality. The more things you can retain in your mind, the more easily it is to manipulate reality, because matter is based off of your mind. So then we're going to look at Epsilon. We're going to tap into Epsilon. One of my students a couple years ago in my Antojai alchemy class ended up channeling a symbol that was very similar to Epsilon. Epsilon, and the symbol that we ended up discovering together was heavily associated to your DNA and repairing your DNA from any imbalances or toxins that your DNA might be holding on to. So I'm just going to go ahead. Epsilon. Now, another thing you got to learn is just you're learning a lot of alchemy through this course. Not only did you learn the neurocodes, Atlantean alchemy, Druid alchemy, Native American shamanism, you're now stepping into, tapping into Greek alchemy. Pretty soon you're going to be diving into like astrology and stuff like that. All of this is just something, as long as you expose yourself once to it, just once, you have it in your system. Your DNA has remembered it. So if at any given moment you're like, hey, I need to tap into this one frequency that's really good for, fear reconstruction, I would then be like, oh yeah, I remember to some degree gamma has something to do with that. Let me turn on gamma. Bam, right? Sometimes if you trust yourself enough and you're like, man, I've studied alchemy across my entire life. There's so much out there. I know I have something for this. And you go ahead and you're like, bam, I'm just going to go with my own internal database. You're going to open up higher levels of alchemy and you'll find a solution right there on the spot. There are some healers that never learn how to do this. And because of it, they'll tell you, hey, I have to wait. I have to do research and then I'll come back. Not always is this going to be very helpful or beneficial when you're dealing with someone or dealing with yourself. But just being able to say like, okay, I do remember having some sort of exposure to it. That will help you. We're going to go to Theta. And if you're turning on each key one at a time and you're just focusing on one key at a time, that's not what I want you to do. If you shut off any of these previous ones because you turned on this one just now, you're doing it wrong. Turn on all of these frequencies all at once. We're on Theta right now. You should have Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, and Theta all on. In the lecture that I link in your workbook, the Bruce Lipton episode, it's a pretty long lecture, but he'll show you how there's certain developmental stages in your life where you're focusing, between the ages of like, I think 0 to 3, you're in a delta state. And then from 3 to about 6, you're in a theta state, right? And those are the developmental aspects that I shared with you in my Depression Alchemy course that are tied to the chakras. If you feel like yawning, go ahead and yawn. That's something you gotta do. If you feel like shaking, walking around, sometimes I learn new alchemy and I'm walking around in circles all around my house. Sometimes I turn it on and I got so much energy that I can't go to sleep. I feel restless. My dreams are really intense. I have to go out and like do something. That's normal. Just roll with it. We're gonna go into Theta. I'm not tired today. I have not done anything super crazy. So all this yawning is a negative energy that Zeta and Theta ended up finding inside of me. I didn't feel like yawning in the first couple frequencies, but those two had an effect on me. You might feel pressure happening in your third eye or in your head. You might be seeing certain colors. Right now I'm seeing like this really hyper gold color in my mind's eye. Take another deep breath. Let this one sink in for just a few seconds more. Now we're going to step into Theta. Theta, it's a dreaming flow state. All right, when you're in Delta, you're in a deep healing state. When you're in Theta, you're in a dreaming flow state. And Theta is usually where you step into astral traveling. And Theta is where you can reprogram the brain very easily. Usually hypnosis is trying to get someone to a Theta state or a Delta state so that you can then reprogram certain belief systems inside of themselves. Theta, again, is Delta and Theta are the first steps in our child development. So a lot of the information that we know or we live by was acquired in the very few years of our life where we were experiencing Delta and Theta. A lot of times people don't realize that, okay, if you have a stressful environment around a child, even though you're not necessarily trying to directly expose a child to that stress, the fact that they're in this dream flow where they're just literally recording everything, like they have no bias to anything that's coming to them, they're just recording absolutely everything, even though they're not exposed to direct violence, but there's violence in the home and they have some sort of level of recognition about that, that gets stored in your subconscious. And then that creates this vibration of maybe you growing up later and being violent, or you having this extreme fear or apprehension towards violence. It just makes you feel a certain way. And whenever you're dealt with confrontation, you walk away from it because you can't deal with it, right? So take another deep breath. What about the brain frequencies? Wait, let's look at Delta first because we didn't look at that. Delta increases your immune functions. It's great for hypnosis, like I just told you. It decreases awareness of the physical world. So when you're in Delta, you can still do astral projection. Usually when I've hit Delta in my own personal practice, it's like my body is still here, but I'm almost, every once in a while, like I do something like that in the middle of a really deep meditation. It's almost like I'm about to fall asleep, but my body's like, nope, you're not going to fall asleep. You're just going to experience, right? It has an access to the unconscious information. So that's when you get put into hypnosis, you can talk directly to the unconscious. In my 90 Days of Antojai course, I teach you exactly how to talk to the unconscious without putting someone in a hypnosis state. It's all about just knowing that you can tap into the Delta and Theta frequencies without doing a lot of work. You can make a person step into those frequencies on their own so that they can go ahead and make your life easier. One of the things that I've noticed with Theta healing, for instance, even though it's powerful, it's very powerful and it changes people's lives, I don't have a affinity towards it, because I still feel like I have to do a lot of the work to put someone in a theta like energy state, instead of making someone's consciousness forcefully step into theta by themselves without me doing anything, and then me having a theta conversation with the person's subconscious realms. It's a dominant brainwave in infants under 1 year old. So you also have to think about this, like when you're in your mother's womb, you're experiencing delta primarily, and occasionally you might even experience theta. So when you're in your mom's belly, if your mom was, in a really bad relationship, she was constantly working, maybe she was like, an entrepreneur and she was always freaking out about her bills and stuff like that. That's all stuff that a baby would eventually absorb into their frequency, right? And then you grow up not really understanding why, you have a 7-figure job, but you're always freaking out about money, right? You're always going to end up poor because your mom basically installed that information into you. A lot of parents do not get this proper education when they're having children, and then they wonder why their kids end up a certain kind of way later on in like their developmental phase of life. And it's because if you incorporate every aspect, especially if you're about to have a kid, everything that you do up until, I would probably say, 12 years old is critical for you. Not only how many languages they get exposed to, because one of the things that I learned in school was about languages, right? And how language programs the mind. If you can get a kid to kind of just absorb or expose themselves to as many languages as possible, by the time that they're 3 years old, when they grow older and they decide to learn a language, they will be able to pronounce those like really hard sounds that, if you were never exposed to those sounds, you could, it's easier for those people. So like a kid that ends up being exposed to Chinese by the age of 3 and decides to learn Chinese when he's 20 something will be able to pronounce Chinese words and phonetics easier than a kid who grew up until the age of 3 never being exposed to Chinese whatsoever. When we are actually born, another cool fact, we can pronounce every literal sound in every language. It doesn't matter what language it is, as long as it's located on Earth. And especially if you were to even learn how to teach a kid how to talk star language or light language, you can pronounce every little sound, right? And it's just by the time we turn 3, we just solidify, English is the main thing that we got to focus on, French is the main thing we got to focus on, Spanish, whatever it is that your culture is bringing to, it ends up shutting down other aspects of yourself. Deep breath. Theta range is tied to deep relaxation, meditation, increased memory, focus, creativity, lucid dreaming, right? So when a lot of you work with me on personal meditations, whether it's one-on-one lessons or it's, doing one of my cosmic dust meditation that I think I created last year, that one's really powerful. I get messages all the time of people being like, holy crap, I didn't know that, cosmic dust was so powerful. It's because you hit this stage of theta. When a lot of people work with me, a lot of people will get off my table and be like, oh my God, I feel like I took a dose of LSD, or I'm on mushrooms or something. Like I feel so high right now. It's because you're in a lucid-like state, okay? So basically you are dreaming. You're a lucid dreamer in the terms of shamanism, which is saying that once you hit that lucid dreaming state, you can bend reality because the dream has to obey to you, right? So here we're starting to see like, whoa, ancient shamans kind of understood theta range, right? Even though they never were like, oh yeah, this is called theta. They understood the existence or the experience of being in theta. And this is what alchemy is all about. I really tell you guys in a lot of different mediums that ascension is what? A lifestyle. Alchemy is what? A lifestyle. So if you can put yourself in a state where you're like, oh, I need to be in theta range, and you can just do it at a moment's notice, you're more powerful than other beings around you. Another great way to train yourself to step into theta is if you do psychedelics. In shamanism, you're taught that when you do psychedelics, you are supposed to remember what that frequency is like through your body, through your consciousness, and through the things that you did during your voyage, right? So me personally, I've done a lot of LSD. I can put myself in a mental state where I feel like I've taken a fresh dose of LSD because I remember in my sleeve what that feels like. At any given moment when I put myself there, I can bend reality easier because I'm not so solidified within matter, right? That's why people go do ayahuasca. Now, it's not just enough for you to go out and do ayahuasca and then like just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna get this substance anytime that I need it, right? You actually have to be able to say like, I'm going to connect to the spirit and I'm going to carry this with me. The medicine is the activation that gets put inside of you. It's not the fact that you're always drinking ayahuasca to activate that higher vibrational frequency. We're going to go into Yoda. Deep breath. Iota again goes back to the root chakra. Zeta goes to the root chakra. Alpha goes to the root chakra. So in this moment right now, allow the fire aspects, Alpha, Zeta, and Iota, to all mix with each other with the fire element. And if you want to take it one step further, Thuizas, Nauthes, Othala, Fate, Alwyn, light of existence, Bishnaris, Kavala, Urisepi, Minavech, Sehet, Aklash, Vinavach, Bleaves, Arasipi, Harusut, Mina, Vishpavi. And then we're going to let that frequency mixed with our root chakra in delta state based off of the sciences that we understand in our modern state. You give in to that once you're like, oh, all these dots connect. Okay, I'm gonna work with that now. Boof. And you might feel like your mind automatically gets to this point of like really, really being quiet. So take another deep breath. We're going to go into Kappa. Kappa is going to be tapping into our throat chakra. Same thing with Pi, all right? So Kappa and Pi, let's just let those two mix together at our throat chakra. If you were to think about pi as a number, all right, and that's just, I'm going to put you in here. All right, so pi in the terms of numbers is 3.14159265 and it'll just continuously go and go and go and go, all right? Usually pi doesn't stop if I remember correctly. So it's always driving you in your throat chakra. Your throat chakra is a generator of wisdom. Your throat chakra is a generator of your shadow, right? So like pi in terms of mathematics when it comes to your chakra is always trying to get to the closest exact truth of wisdom, right? But it's never like really there because pi goes on for like ever. So take a deep breath. That's easy to say that pi and gamma would also be associated in the same chakra region right here. Deep breath. We're going to go ahead and we're going to turn on lambda, sorry. And then once you have that on, mu. Whenever I turn on Mu, I really feel it at my third eye primarily. But let's look here. Where is Mu associated? Mu is at the 10th chakra. Okay, it says Nu in here, but it's Mu. It's associated with the 10th chakra. Take a deep breath. So allow Mu to enter the Mother Earth chakra underneath your feet. Mu and Nu are both at that chakra. I apologize. We're going to turn on Nu. We're going to turn on Zai. That next one that I turned on makes my brain want to explode. If you feel any pressure like that or any pain anywhere in your body, hold it. Don't turn off the frequency. Don't try to move to another frequency. Let your body acclimate. When you acclimate, then you move forward. Deep breath. Omicron. We're going to tap into since Omicron is an O, you can easily say it's connected to your 8th chakra, right? A halo, because space was associated with halo. And Mu is also associated with your 11th chakra as well. Omicron is also associated with your 3rd chakra. And I am reading the student copy, which needs to be updated. But you can just go with what I'm telling you, because it's all experience-based. My master copy has different notes, because they're a little bit more advanced. And I didn't want to confuse you guys. We're going to tap into Rho and Sigma. Sigma tends to be in like Excel sheets and also mathematics as well. It's usually like a sum, right? So Sigma is easily like an add-on. What does everything add up to? Sigma can be plugged into the Quantum Reiki Grandmaster alchemy table. And when you do that, you're basically saying after you plugged in everything that you want inside of the alchemy table, you could easily turn on Sigma as a secondary variation that adds up all those things together inside of the alchemy table. So you get two effects, not only the one that the alchemy table is generating, but the one singular vibration that is the whole entire alchemy table as a new vibration through Sigma. Deep breath. You can easily say that Sigma is going to add up. Let me see if it'll do it. I think it froze on me. Sigma is going to add up all of these vibrations together. Deep breath. And now we're going to do a speed download here with all these other variations except for omega. Omega is going to be the only one that we leave out. So we're going to do tau, epsilon, phi, psi, chi, and the reason why we do omega last is because all that energy right now, we just force that into our male consciousness aspect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the omega key and we're going to really generate that in our subconscious. So do that now, omega. Sit with this vibration. And I'm going to call upon 2 volunteers. One's going to be a healer, one's going to be a person receiving healing. If you're going to be receiving healing, you're going to be required to talk and to tell us what you're experiencing. Natalie, and I'm going to pick Barb. So Natalie and Barb, who wants to heal and who wants to be the healee?
I can do the healing.
Okay. All right, Natalie, you're going to be telling us what you feel when Barb starts healing you with a certain frequency. And then Natalie's going to be typing it in, so I'll be, if Natalie at any moment wants to chime in with her mic, she can.
Yeah, I unblocked my mic now. Do you hear me?
Yeah, cool, perfect. All right, so Barb, I want you to pick a frequency, any frequency from this list of Greek alchemy that you see. Don't tell us which one it is. Start sending it to Natalie when you pick one, and just tell us that you're sending it.
Okay, I'm sending it.
Okay. And then Natalie, as soon as you start feeling it, let us know and then tell us what it brings up to your mind. Or what are you feeling?
My crown mostly right now. It's like vibrating.
If there's any thoughts or memories or anything like that, please share whatever it is that comes up. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then I'm going to ask Barb what frequency she's sending.
I'm now seeing an eye in my third eye, like I'm visually seeing an eye.
Okay.
It seems to be flashing. It's actually relieving some pressure in my sinuses, funny enough.
Can you talk to the frequency? Can you ask the frequency what it's doing to you?
Okay. Now, I got the answer working, but it was very vague. And now I'm seeing a diamond forming. So I don't know what that means.
The diamond is usually some sort of like higher purification. Barb, what frequency are you sending?
Beta.
Beta. So she felt beta. Let's see what's on here. So, I'll give you 2 seconds. Beta. Yep. Look at that. Beta, you were feeling it at your crown chakra, which aligns with the crown chakra very well. And then you said it was fixing your sinuses, which is tied to your third eye. That would be also there. Yeah, exactly what is listed on the notes is exactly what you're experiencing. Okay, perfect. So now I want Natalie to send Barb a different frequency altogether. Pick whatever it is that you want to send her.
Okay.
Cool. And then Barb, whenever you start feeling it, let us know.
I almost feel a sensation going throughout my whole body. It's almost like, I don't even know how to describe it, like light going throughout like my whole body system. And now my throat chakra area is kind of like heavy. It's almost like it's trying to move something out.
Can it tell you, does it tell you like what emotion or anything about that thing that it's trying to move?
I hear fear. And subconscious. I don't know if it's subconscious blocks, letting go. And I kind of feel like it's starting to release, and it's almost like it's taking whatever I had blocked and it's kind of releasing it for me. I kind of feel the energy kind of going from like my shoulders up above my head and kind of wrapping around my upper body.
Okay. Natalie, what frequency are you sending Barb?
That's so cool. Delta. And I was seeing it spin the symbol. As it was working, it was rocking and rolling and spinning, and it was cool.
So let's see where Delta. Delta is the third eye. It's also the root chakra and sacral chakra. So were there any things, like any particular memories tied to like the past or anything like that that were showing up, Barb, for you?
Um, I kind of felt like a childlike presence, almost like my inner child, maybe. I did have a lot of trauma as a kid.
Got it. Cool. All right. So now I'm going to send both of you a frequency. Okay. Sending both of you the frequency now. Tell me when you feel it.
I feel energy. I almost feel it in my solar plexus and sacral chakras.
Oh, wow. I feel it in my chest, in my heart, in my sinuses, in my third eye, I guess. And now it's moving to my solar plexus.
I see energy popping out of every single chakra.
Yeah, it started in my heart and it started spreading. And now it's spreading up and down at the same time.
And I can see my body as light, not as my body, and I see light flowing throughout the whole thing. And then just the light spewing out of each chakra.
I see like a swirl of light, and it's almost opening up a vortex. It's kind of neat.
So I want you both to try to communicate with the frequency that I'm sending you and ask it, what is it doing to you personally? And see if it gives you an answer.
I feel I'm starting to cry from the emotion. I see myself as, wow, it's over. It's a good feeling though, but I see myself as a little girl. And it's just telling me that it's healing me and that I'm going to be okay.
For me, I think it's healing something with my heart. It's just showing me that it's growing and that it's expanding more. But I'm not really getting what's more than that.
Okay. So I was sending you guys Moo. So Moo, mostly because it's tied to the 11th chakra or your spirit. That's where you would have seen a lot of like light. And in Druid alchemy is tied to the sun and the day. So there you have it again. The tetrahedron, which is tied to fire, is tied to the sun. That's why you started seeing your chakras kind of like blast a bit. I'm trying to see if Mu is anywhere else in this chart. It's also tied to like I said, it was tied to like the Mother Earth chakra, but primarily the main focus that I usually put it into is the 11th chakra. All right, so take one last deep breath. And then I'm going to send you guys all the symbols all at once. So I want you to let me know what you feel once I've done it. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, z, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, pi, psi, chi, omega. Any changes?
I
Go ahead, Barb.
Okay. I felt with each key, as you said it, I kind of felt heavier and heavier. And then when you got down to the end, I saw this big burst of energy and felt this big, huge release. And I was actually having a lot of pain on my right shoulder, around my shoulder blade. And it released all of that. And I just feel extremely calm and relaxed.
Okay, so for me, it was a buildup as well, but it felt like more and more and more pressure on my chest. And then all of a sudden, it was like a face came out of nowhere. And this face, I couldn't really distinguish male or female. And then there was this long, flowy, wild hair, like blowing in the wind. But I didn't know what it was trying to tell me, but it was just face to face with me, and it was like it was illuminated. It was like a being of light, you could say. It's really
Was
cool.
it white hair?
Yeah, white. Like everything was flowing in white.
Chances are you saw like my astral image. That's what a lot of people end up reporting when I do stuff like this.
Pretty cool.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I'm turning off
Yes,
the
thank
energy.
you.
yeah, no problem. I'm turning off the energy now. So one of the things you guys want to pay attention to, like some of you have worked with me extensively for a while, and others have not. But one of the things that happens is like Natalie just said, she saw this being with long white hair, like a being of light. When I work with a lot of people and they hit like this peak of like the supremacy of my power, or like it's usually just like me being really in tune with what I'm doing right now. It's not really like even about powers, just being like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm experiencing this, right? A lot of people say that they see like this androgynous figure with a long, like kind of like whitish luminescent hair, sometimes like whitish eyes, and about like a 5'10" stature with white robes and stuff like that. Each person, when you really embody your alchemy, you have an astral image that presents itself to people as a guide. The only way you can have that astral image is if you like change your own physical nature. A lot of times, for me to be able to really tap into that vibration of myself, I've had to let go of who I am and the natures that I've used to classify myself. Like the natures of saying like, you know, I come from a family that has X story, and like I have all these experiences that have forced me to develop these kinds of characteristics, and like I have these interests. I've been able to let the alchemy rearrange my personality. And that's one of the hardest things when you start learning so much alchemy in general, especially through like the workbook that I'm showing you guys, is that with each one of these alterations that you do with yourself, you're going to be forced into stepping into this higher sense of self that is older, like older in a sense of like eternal than anything else that you've ever known. So in a way, you're moving forward towards a new version of yourself, but really what you're doing is you're falling backwards into yourself, and then that kind of like shows you the illusion of infinity. You'll notice that when you're working with people and it starts happening, some people might tell you, oh, I see this woman in purple, or you know, I see this alien or something. If like 4 or 5 clients tell you the same thing, you know, it doesn't matter if it's months apart or weeks apart, you need to be like, oh, the last time I heard about this, I was feeling this exact kind of way. And then you have to click it in your mind, oh, what they're actually looking at is me. They're not looking at like one of my spirit guides. They're looking at my energetic self. Now, depending on your starseed incarnation is whether or not you're going to look a certain way over another way, or even how you feel on the inside is going to show up in a different fashion than it does for other people. I noticed that like my ascended projection is usually because I've watched a ton of anime, and I've always admired the anime characters that they don't look like they're very threatening. They don't look like they have much to offer, but they're a powerhouse in a small little compact body, right? And that's like usually what people end up seeing. The other thing too is like, doesn't matter how your image gets presented. I've met people who like, you know, their image shows up as a bird for people, and they're like, why do I show up as a bird but you show up as like a full-fledged person, right? Like, you can't let that get to you. It's the form that your energetic system, your energetic consciousness takes. So when you astral travel and you're dreaming and you're in the body of another person, or you're in a sense of self that you haven't been focusing on before, right? When these things happen to you, you really need to step into this vibration of understanding, like, okay, my energetic system is taking this role because it's best like associated with me. If it's a totem animal, for instance, I've had a lot of people tell me too that every once in a while they'll dream of a hummingbird, and then the hummingbird has my voice attached to it. The hummingbird means happiness, joy, positivity. One of my cosmic signs is a sun. Joy, happiness, positivity. So then it kind of makes sense that like, okay, the reason why I heard my voice coming out of a hummingbird is because it's me. In their consciousness, they felt most comfortable talking to a hummingbird, right? Similarly, like when you do astral projection with other people, if you're more fluid with your nature, and that's the sense of like, you know, in earlier lectures I've talked about being androgynous, right? If you can be androgynous, embracing both genders, not necessarily every day in your physical life, but just simply like in your mind, right? It gives you more opportunity in the astral realms when you're astral projecting or you're traveling or doing whatever, because then you're basically becoming the vibration of someone else's imagination or their own illusion. So I've talked to people, you know, on the other side of the globe months before I've ever met them in physical reality, and they know things about me that there's no way these people could have ever known about me. Whether it's they saw my physical face, like this face, or they saw like the face that Natalie saw or a totem or something, there's some sort of information that resonates with them. And you always have to understand that sometimes people can't handle seeing like a spirit guide. They can't do that, but they can handle seeing like, you know, an animal or a regular person that shows up in their dream. The more fluid you are, the easier it is for you to impact not only your consciousness, but other people's consciousness. Because remember everything that I've been teaching you about, not only nature through this earth alchemy aspect, but the dark alchemy that I've taught when it comes to people's natures. Like sometimes you need to be like a chameleon, being able to shapeshift so that you can bypass like security walls in the subconscious realms, like, you know, the shadow and stuff like that. Maybe the shadow is not okay talking to a being of light like Natalie saw, right? That incarnation for somebody's shadow might not be very beneficial for me or that person. But the shadow might not have a problem with a little kid walking right by. That little kid is still me, but it's a different version of me, right? And I can use those perceptions to get deeper and deeper, not only into my consciousness, but somebody else's. So it's really important that you guys kind of like keep playing around with everything that I've given you. This is a practice that you guys are going to have to like really put some extra concentrated effort in. I have somebody said, I kept feeling a lot of pressure behind and underneath my third eye and felt a very physically heavy during the activations. Is this due to just getting used to the vibes? Yes, definitely. When I first started messing around with all these vibrations, I ended up always feeling like I was being like gravity, right? Now it's different for me. Like now I turn on, like when I did the whole reel on Natalie and Barb, I felt like I was getting high. Like instead of being pulled down, I was like going outward. So yeah, and after a while, you probably won't even feel it. It's just going to be a part of your nature. And like, even though I know that the Greek alchemy, I don't ever really like turn it on in the same way that I turned it on today. Like I just turn on, okay, you know, I know I learned a frequency for this at some point. I can't remember exactly what frequency it is, but hey, frequency, you're a consciousness, you're a part of my body. Hey, I need you to work right now. And I just summon that energy and woof, it comes in and it hits the person and it has an impact. Bert says, was drawn to sign language used by the deaf. Yes, technically sign language would be light language if you were able to, like, if you've ever studied like Buddhism, mudras, like some Buddhist alchemists essentially will just do a ton of like mudras one after the other, and with each mudra that they do, it's pretty advanced stuff because I can't even do it as fast as that, but they'll do it super super fast. And what they're doing is, with the mudra's potential, they're basically summoning different variations of alchemy, and they're bending not only their consciousness but the environment simultaneously. So yeah, definitely, like, if you know sign language, try to see what sign language, when you do a certain movement, right? Like, does it have a vibration attached to it? Yeah. Oh wow, okay. Like, and you can create like a new sense of light language inside of you. So the reason why we're learning all these different variations is because eventually, once you understand your nature and the nature of the cosmos intimately enough, you'll be able to do your own light language just randomly. I just posted a video this morning, I believe, about Lyrian, Lyrian starseed work, and basically, it's all about being able to like tap into the DNA and let your body just do things too, and like just sway. Sometimes I heal people and I'm just dancing around them, just like the traditional shamans do. You don't really interpret dance as a form of light language, right? But it really is, if you know that you're turning your dance into light language, right? And that's why when you go to like a club or something, there's this one person who's dancing and no one can stop looking at them. It's because their movements are generating light in some fashion. Even though the person's not aware that they're like, generating light language, they might be like, yeah, I feel so good. And then like that's being vibrated and people are like, whoa, that is one sexy being, right? So this is the gist of our class. Morningstar says, towards the end I saw a head and front shoulders of a white wolf. Yes, so the white wolf will be tied to your yin aspect. Basically the wolf of justice, I believe, in Native American shamanism is what it's called. The wolf of surrender and honor. Basically, there's a great story in Native American shamanism that's all about like a kid is like goes up to an elder and says, hey, there's two wolves fighting inside of me. One of them's really evil, one of them's really like positive. One of them's black, the evil one. The white one is the one that's trying to make a change in the world. And he says, but they're always fighting. How am I gonna ever like come, like, who's gonna win? And then the elder's like, basically the one that you feed, the one that you put your attention to. So if you saw an animal, look up that animal, and the color of that animal too is a totem, because basically you're tapping into Native American shamanism. The totems are really associated with Native American shamanism overall. So practice this as much as possible. Have fun with it. Like the whole entire spreadsheet that I gave you guys is basically so you can not only have a quick reference, but also so you can be like, okay, today I'm going to work on my root chakra. I'm going to do all this stuff that I learned in my root chakra. Or maybe you're experiencing something, like your mind has been all over the place and you can't really like bring yourself down. Think of it as this is a medicine book, literally, that I just put together for you, right? Like if my solar plexus is messed up and I don't have creativity, I'm going to be using all of this in here to make sure that I get my creative juices flowing, okay?